Welcome back to another episode of Fully Stoked Podcast. I am your host, Sarah Stokes. And as you can see, Cody is not here because I am hanging out with another one of my excellent friends, Melinda Willison. And Melinda is a licensed therapist. Is that how you say it? She has lots of letters after her name. What do those letters mean?
Clinical mental health counselor.
Okay, so she is a friend of mine for over a year now, and I adore her. And she's just, she has like Zooms and in-person classes. She does public speaking, and she's a licensed therapist. Anyway, let me introduce myself and what this podcast is about. If this is your first time with us, please continue to join us. By day, I'm a senior mortgage loan advisor with Coast to Coast Mortgage and Sarah Stokes Home Loans. But what I really like to do is connect people. And I love having this podcast, and I love introducing you guys to women in business, entrepreneurs, serving. She serves so much. She does have to, make money. So it's not just service, it is business too. But she's got some really good things to share with us today. And I can't wait to get started. Melinda Willison, founder of Upwelling Therapeutic Services. Melinda, how long were you an educator before you became a therapist?
So I was an educator for 25 years. Yes. And working primarily with elementary school, multi-grade, Montessori, private and public, IB.
Montessori,
Yeah.
oh, International Baccalaureate. So,
Yeah.
so you were high school, or was that?
In their primary years. Yeah, primary program.
All right. I know a little bit about that from back when I was a teacher many ages ago. So you did that for 25 years. And then kind of what led you to your new career?
Yeah. Well, part of what launched me into counseling is, of course, that's something that's always a stream in the classroom whenever you're working with kids and families, the public in general. But specifically, I was doing work with some anti-trafficking agencies internationally.
Oh, wow.
And locally. With the local safe houses, like one of the statistics at the time, it may have changed since that moment, as statistics do. And we're rescuing women that in particular that have been sex trafficked as many as 5 times before they were able to move past their trauma that was drawing them back into that lifestyle. And before it would stick. And that's a lot of time and investment and requires a lot of programming. And then I landed in India for a summer where one of the program leaders of the international outreach organization said, the reason why we're not rescuing more people that have been trafficked is not just a funding issue, but it's because there's not sufficient aftercare programming. And that really hit me in the heart to the point that it just started convicting me in a way to take action. And so back to school I went.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you obtained your therapy degree while you were working full time as a teacher.
That's correct.
And I'm sure a lot of things that you saw, for example, I know firsthand, in the school system probably motivated you also, right? I mean, you saw the family dynamics and children in foster care or things like that.
Oh, every you see everything. Families going through loss and changes, divorce, addition of new family members, the merging of the multifamily, and also the dynamics of immigration, all kinds of things that you see there, and the toll that just life in general would take on the psyche, the heart, the soul. Yeah.
Wow. So are you working actively? So are you working with the aftercare at this point, or just case by case?
And so I do have some clients that I am working with through related trauma. I'm also working with service workers that are reaching that population to help them be able to process and cope with the traumas that they've experienced as well. I am no longer in the same hands-on role that I was at the time when I was first motivated to move into counseling. It's been a very interesting journey of how my work has evolved, and a lot of that trauma-based focus that I did in all of my training has really been utilized to meet the needs more specifically of individuals struggling with complex grief, as well as medical diagnoses, which interestingly enough are two very pertinent issues with that population as well, trafficked individuals.
So maybe like over the last decade, what kind of changes in children and family and adults even over the past decade have you seen? Is there more trauma related to, I mean, like think about COVID.
Yeah, well, the COVID really was a huge shift for everybody. I don't think anybody came out of the pandemic, at least in American culture, unscathed from what the pandemic did to us. That the fear that was incited through media and politics, the isolation that came as a result, regardless of where you fell in your beliefs about the isolation, you still were isolated. In that we had an entire generation that grew up in their formative years without being socialized. And that's having a huge impact on schools and families as well.
I didn't think about that because there's probably still some effect even today.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
2026 now. I can imagine. Yeah. So, what do you think that most people are struggling with today but not always talking about it?
I think most people, the greatest struggle that I've come across from any particular person that's sitting across the table from me is performance anxieties. Like everybody is wanting, and that's like me, like narrowing it down to that. But there's so many people who have anxiety, and it's coming from a place of people pleasing, perfectionistic tendencies, and all of that comes from social media, platforms, the culture that we've created where there's so much immediate feedback. And also now all of our mistakes are permanent, like they're documented. And so and especially, and so especially working with high schoolers that hitting that junior year, the level of anxiety that, they're facing to be able to present who they are to colleges, to be able to make decisions for their entire future, parents being able to navigate that as well, it's a lot.
I had not even thought about that. My daughter is a junior and, we are going to visit colleges, but I had not thought about it. She doesn't do a lot of social media, but still like documenting all the things. And this is who I am. These are the things that I've done. I have noticed a lot of her age and even some older and some younger, they seem to have more anxiety than I did or any of the kids my age, people that are my age growing up. I don't think,
it was not something, it wasn't something that I experienced at that age, but it is unusual for someone that age to not be experiencing it now. That's how common it has shifted in that. And like I said, there's just constant judgment. And then the permanency of we make mistakes all the time. And that's why I think, when it comes back to like, how do we combat this? And I think we have to, and I saw this even as a teacher, a lot of times, parents would even come in and I know my child needs this, experiencing failure. And so we've also come to a place to where we do so much for our children. Because we want to support them. We want them to feel supported and to feel reassured and that they're not alone in this. But sometimes they need opportunities where they have to push past their frustration. And for us, that's really hard because they're emotional in it. And you never want to see your child be emotional. You never want to see them be frustrated, especially in public. And those are really hard places to be, to let them like work through finding resolutions and self-soothing. And those are life skills that are going to carry them, because the one thing we know is failure will happen. We're not even of our own expectations. We're going to fail to meet those, on a consistent basis.
I do, as a parent, struggle with, wanting to fix things, take care of things. I'm here with you, and, when to let failure happen or, let them figure things out on their own. I struggle with that. And my husband does, help me with that because he's a little better at that, I think. And even their dad, my ex, he also is better at that. I don't know if do you think that sometimes, I mean, maybe it's a woman thing, I don't know, but I'm just more nurturing. And so when I see them struggle, I kind of just want to like help nurture it. And I struggle with it. Like,
well, it's boundaries. It's the mama's heart. Right. And I think that's also like traditional in culture, like we've always like would picture the father figure being harder on the kids than the mother.
Yeah.
And it does come from the differences in how we're designed, as, moms and dads, males and females, like just the design and the way our brains work is very, very different. And so when it comes down to it, you do see mothers probably giving in more than what dads might. But there's also a shift in that because men are also at a place of evolving emotionally as well.
Right.
And so you're seeing some transition there too, where some dads are also becoming more protective than traditionally, more than our fathers and grandfathers.
So, like if you're working with a teenager, you don't have to give me a specific example, but like if you were working with a teenager and then the mom kind of gave in too much and you could see, that the dad was having, would you have like a whole family session or would you have that parent come in separate? How does that work?
And so it depends on the family dynamic and also the wishes of the teenager. So I've done all of those dynamics. So I've worked with teenagers, coaching them through how to navigate the conversations with their parents independently. I've done it where the moms have come in. I do lots of mother-daughter sessions, a few mother-son sessions, but by far majority mother-daughter sessions, and then some with dads and some with the whole family. Yeah. And it goes back to whatever the family dynamic is and what the specific need is and where the client is at, where that student is.
So if you've never had therapy and you're thinking about it, she or any good therapist, I'm sure, would definitely talk to their client and find out the wishes first. It's not like they're going to go, hey, mom and dad, let me tell you all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think kids are probably scared of that.
Yeah. That's one of the first things that happens. So like even in front of whenever I start with a new client, the first thing I say for minors in particular in front of the parents on the first visit is, I know your parents have arranged for you to be here today, but I want you to know that this is your time. And so I'm here for you. And everything that you say to me is private between us unless it's something for harm to yourself or others. And so that's kind of like the spiel that I give to everybody. And sometimes the teenagers, I'll offer to even do a consultation with them as well before they come in so that they can ask any questions that they want. And not,
get rid of that performance anxiety.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to say about anxiety is that, I don't push my children to make straight A's. I've never cared, but that is they want that. They have this really high level of performance that they think they have to achieve. And their dad nor I have ever done that. And I hear so many parents say that to me. And I think it's just this generation, this group of teenagers are maybe more. Do you see that at all? They're more motivated, even if the parents don't care as much.
Yeah. It's a lot of that is coming back to, it's multifold. One of them is it's a shift in the education system. Oh. And so they're getting inundated at school because they're being judged, categorized, they're being grouped. Oh. They're receiving their next classes, their course of study based on how they're performing in school. And so less, even in elementary school, they're getting organized into small groups, into certain tracks, whether it's support tracks that for remediation or for extension. And they see that and they internalize that. Okay. And so that innate part of us to want to be our best selves and to be seen in a good light, want to achieve whatever that best option
is. So it wasn't like that as much when we were growing up, you think?
I don't recall that. Like there were options and programs, but it wasn't honed in on the same. You had one annual assessment and now they have an assessment, still the one major annual one, but they're doing like so many others throughout the year. And it's just that testing inundation. Yeah. And it becomes part of the identity. Like connect. If it's something I'm being required to do to measure me and my success, it becomes part of our identity.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot about identity over the last couple of years. It's very important not to let your identity be something like, well, I'm in the smart class or I'm in the jump class or whatever. Yeah. I think it's really important. You have to figure your identity out in a different way. I love what you put on social media today. I think it was today. It was, well, I saw it today.
You never know.
Describe yourself without using labels or titles. And so I gave it a shot. And what was I supposed to do? I'm not sure.
So without listing any titles or roles. what is your identity? That's a really hard
identity.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that I said that. I thought it was just describe yourself. So I just put like descriptors, but my identity would be first and foremost a child of God. But that's a title.
It's a role.
Whoa. How do you do that?
Yeah.
So what would you say?
Yeah, it's
What's
really
the answer?
hard. And so the answer, everybody has to like do that discovery to what they feel at the end of the day. Because also, like, I go back to like, I'm working with moms launching their kids off to college or into adulthood. And like, and now, like, are you, if you're not mothering every day? Or I work with, individuals who have lost their job or changed their job. And like, and if you like thinking about even myself, like I used to joke all the time, like a teacher isn't what I do, it's who I am. And while there's truth in that, like teaching is an innate skill and characteristic of me as being an educator, but it also it doesn't encompass like my identity. I still exist and have value and worth regardless of whether I'm teaching or. And I think that so much of what we do gets tied to those roles and titles that we're fulfilling because we just put so much of ourselves into it. And we can easily lose the essence, those characteristics that are at the core of our spirit.
So another question, it has to do with this. So for like my daughters, they're teenage age. And then I have a younger one who is 11. She's my bonus baby. But for girls that are going through, I mean, middle school's like very challenging. I do remember middle school being challenging.
It's
even
the hardest
when I was in middle school. And I think it still remains that way. I've had one that's done with middle school, one that's going through middle school, one going into middle school. In any case, are there things like support groups for not just girls, maybe boys support groups, or where they can get together with other kids that may or may not, have some similarities or things. I don't know if you run them or if other groups and organizations do that. Have you ever heard of such a thing? I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are group organizations that are running like nonprofits on the side to be able to reinstill that sense of community and connectedness for them. The Scouts have always served as that role. And so those that continue in that, Girls on the Run, things like that are always like really great for once you hit high schoolers, it's really hard because their interest and all the things biting for their time get really intense. But there are a few local practices and also nonprofits that offer periodically different programs to be able to tap into. One of my core modalities is using DBT, which is Dialectical Behavior Therapy. And it's where and the premise of it is really simplistic in the most simplistic terms is where you kind of align your left and right brain so that it creates what's called a wise mind. And so whenever we take, our logic side and our emotion side and bring them into balance, we can make wise decisions moving forward. And so those are a lot of the skills that I practice. There's several organizations that offer teen groups on DBT.
Okay, that's great. That's pretty cool. All right. So I'll link your website. Do you have a website?
Yes.
Summary. Okay. And in the summary on the YouTube summary and Spotify summary, everything else, this will be on all of them. And then I will see if I can find, I don't know anything about that. I'll edit this out. But if there is anything like that, do you have any idea if there's anything like that I could put in there? A link to anything? You don't do it though.
I don't personally I don't have the space for it now.
You have a mom support group, right?
I do, and I run it in the fall. I did look to run it in the spring, but I have enough interest. So as you're
fall
editing,
is definitely a time for moms who are launching their children into college. I can foresee that happening for me. Not next year, but the next year I'm gonna need a support group. Keep doing it though. I've heard from some of the ladies that attended it. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it had a really good fallout. Some even became individual clients afterwards to continue working through stuff along the way, and so that means a lot. And that's my long-term plan is to be able to have my own center, to be able to do more programming.
Yeah,
and I want it to be an immersive experience is the envision that I have for it, so that it can be both experiential as well as intensive. And so that's my long-term goal. I'm on a 2-year plan right now to be able to be on my own property. And then I'll have to look then at the long-term plan at where the next steps will be for growing it.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you and work with you, do they have to be in this area? Because your office is located in Weddington, is that right?
My office is located in Weddington. I do have a requirement that minors work with me face to face, and but adults can also meet with me virtually.
Awesome. So, okay, that's good to know. And I wanted to talk about emotional intelligence. All right. So, how does emotional intelligence show up in everyday life, at home, at work, and in leadership?
Yeah. The number one way that emotional intelligence shows up is in your reactivity versus responsiveness. And it starts with your thoughts. So if your first thoughts jump to like negative thoughts, self doubt, self deprecation, all of those things are signs that we have room to grow. I have some skills to build, particularly of our sense of self. So a lot of my workshops end up focusing on these things. And it sounds really contrite to say, like, well, let's, practice self affirmations and what are your strengths and that sort of thing. And it sounds a little bit like basic, but those are the things that give us the foundation of our sense of self that grows our emotional intelligence, because then we're able to, whatever we're able to understand about ourselves and the journey it takes us to get there, we're able to have grace and understanding for the others around us in regards to that.
So it's like practice makes perfect. So therapy, one-on-one therapy, your DBT, also maybe support groups or your workshops. Let's talk about your workshops because I've been to 2 and I've heard you public speak maybe 3 times. And every time I am blown away by what I learned, because I've been in therapy for years. So I'm like, I mean, I don't go every week or anything, but I really learned something every single time. Your newest and the next one that you have is February 13th, I believe. And I'm going to see if I can put this out before that. I'm going to see if I can move somebody. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try to. So tell us a little bit about that, like how people can sign up for that and where it is.
Yeah. So I'm visiting my social media pages, Upwelling Therapeutic on Facebook and Instagram. There are links there to be able to register and sign up. It's on Eventbrite as well, or all of the public places that it's accessible. And the workshop is, it's time to fall in love with yourself. And the core of what we're going to dig into is working on that identity. And because if we can recognize who we are to ourselves, then we're going to be able to care for ourselves in a way that helps us live our best life.
That's wonderful. And that is growing that emotional intelligence. You need to go to that. I am going to that. I've already signed up for it, actually. Is it great?
It's at Great Bistro and Indian Trail over at
by Sun Valley.
Sun Valley, yeah.
And then it's going to be, what time did you say?
From 12 to 2.
So we're going to have lunch. We can order off of the menu. So your ticket does not include lunch. You can buy that, but it is wonderful food. So Corinne, is that her name?
Corinne's the owner there at Grapes, and she's a really great collaborator and supporter for just women to empowering women. So
local business, go support Corinne and join me. You can text me if you want to go with me. I'm all about it. I love your talks and your workshops. I'm a big champion. Yeah. So what do most children and families need most right now?
I think the thing that that each of us needs most right now is to be mindful of our thoughts and to be able to temper how we speak to one another, not just about ourselves, but to one another, because those thoughts are what ignites. Like, just brain research has come so far in time, and we now have evidence, like it's been believed and it's in lots of books and it's, the buzzword around, but it's because we have scientific evidence now that shows that when we think positively, whenever, and it doesn't change reality, but looking at something like, this is, the glass half empty or glass half full kind of philosophy. And it doesn't change the reality, but thinking, oh, it's half empty, boom, cortisol releases. And then now you have this mood change and the negative comes on. But if I look at, and this glass is half full, there's water in this glass, like whatever positive frame I can put on it, then now all of those hormones and chemicals in our brain that dose us in a positive way, that give us energy and motivation are now igniting. And so now we're like, chin up, move forward, smile on our face, all of those things. And it makes such a difference to be able to move forward in that kind of positive mindset, because then we have the strength to work through and navigate the challenges.
And I think it affects the people in the room around you. It affects everyone if you're positive, but if you're negative, it can affect people as well.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yesterday I went to a store with my middle daughter, and the lady on the other side was ringing me up. She kept rolling her eyes at me, and I'm sorry, it was like a brand new computer, and I was trying to put the number in, and I got a little, tripped up, and she had to repeat, and she rolled her eyes at me over and over and over, and I just left there feeling very defeated, like something was wrong with me. I said it out loud to my daughter. I'm not going to allow that to bring me down. I'm going to have the best day ever. And it did. It turned around. It was a fantastic day, but I think it's also a decision. So even if people do bring you down, but there is something to the glass half full, because that lady needed to change her outlook yesterday.
Yes.
She needed a glass half full.
It's about we have to be intentional, because anything can sway us one way or the other, just, how it hits us. And people like to use the trigger word, oh, that triggered me. No, it hit you wrong. Like you don't have a trauma related to it, but it was uncomfortable. It wasn't what we wanted or expected. And so we have that startle response. So being able to disallow those things from shifting our day and changing our mood, is emotional intelligence. That's how we're going to grow. And that's why that practicing those affirmations and those intentional statements is so important.
Now, at one of the workshops that I went to, you gave us a little handheld mirror, and we did a practice right there where we said affirmations into that mirror. And that was so impactful for me, because I think there may be stigma. I don't know if stigma, but people are like, oh, let me say my affirmations in the mirror. But then when I did it with you, it really it made a difference. It was fantastic. So every one of her workshops, she had like an exercise that you do. She sends you home with something so that you can remember what you've worked on there. Yeah, I think you're an educator. Hold on. That's not your identity. That's not your identity. You have a skill, excellent skills in educating and teaching. And I think that's what makes your workshops really good. I'm not bored in her workshops. In other words, I'm paying to go to another one of her workshops on February the 13th. Join me if you can. I think I'm going to see you doing more things on like webinars. And I feel like you do have so much value that you can bring to more people, but there's only one of you. So if everybody comes to you one at a time, you only have so many hours in a day.
That's right.
So I think, yes, when you're ready to do webinars, we'll do another one of these too. I think
that'll be great.
Everybody. Yeah. All right. So why do you think that therapy does still carry a stigma for so many people? Because everybody knows about therapy at this point, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of, I'm going to share an anecdotal is in recent times, I've even had a parent sit with me with the child and, express that they didn't want to see their child end up in the loony bin or the crazy house. And so those historical stigmas still exist. They're still underlying. Why is there still hesitation about going into it? It's because, like I said, so many of the things are basic skills. And it's really hard to have to admit that I need to pay somebody to help me develop basic skills in my life as a mature grown up, as a professional, as an intelligent human. To have to see things as like, oh, it's basic. Like you already know what to do. Yeah, I'm probably not going to share with you anything that you can't find out in the world or online anywhere or any other therapist, but it's the relational aspect that comes into play, the accountability piece that makes it so worthwhile. And that's at the end of the day, being able to realize that all of my other challenges that feel heavier than my mental health would be lighter if my mental health was stronger. And that's why therapy is so important.
It is. It is really, really important. All right. So the name of your practice is Upwelling. Where did that come from?
So Upwelling actually stems from my faith beliefs and practices. And so but it carries over into, all aspects of life, belief systems, etc. But for me, whenever I was praying through opening up my own practice, and I'm like trying to land on a name. What is this, what I was envisioning, what encompasses it. And really what we're doing is talking through things to stir them up and be able to work through those things that get stirred up. And what the upwelling is it is a natural occurrence in the ocean, occurs off the Pacific coast. And it only happens in about 10% of the earth. And it's where the wind moves across the water in such a way that it shifts the currents to turn up the nutrients that are all the way in the ground floor and put them into the streams that then flow out and nourish throughout the oceans. And whenever I think about just that is profound, like thought and connection. And then if you bring it back to our spirit lives and our daily lives of imagining, like, how God speaks into things and it stirs them up so that they can grow and become better, stronger. And the same thing in therapy, we're going to talk things out to stir it up so that we can find what's in here that we can push away, what's in here that we need to modify, and what's in here that we need to hold on to. And so that's what we're upwelling whenever we're doing that therapeutic work.
That is a beautiful story. I was really riveted the whole time you were talking. That's a beautiful story. So one thing I've talked about with my family is my girls, my husband's, if there's something that we don't want to talk about, when you bring it into the light and we talk about it, we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I've learned that from things. Honestly, is like a lot of people don't want to deal with things, so they don't talk about them, but they're still there, right? They can still affect you, even if you don't talk about them.
Yeah.
And they will. At bringing things into the light and talking about them, figuring out certainly some things need to be talked about with a trained professional. So yeah, I'm a big advocate for this lady and for therapy in general. I have a couple more little questions for you, and I don't think you know about these, but how do you personally care for your own emotional health? I'm a therapist.
So for me, you just heard me reference my faith. And so for me, it's staying rooted and grounded in faith-based practices. And that looks different ways in different seasons of life. It means, attending church, having prayer, doing devotions, connecting with other people that are like-minded, those sorts of things. For me on a daily basis, I practice connecting with nature every day. I start and end my day outside, and I always call it chin up. And so, and so I'm going to start my day outside. Having dogs helps a lot with keeping this practice routine. And so, but going out, breathing in fresh air in our nose, slow motion exhale out our mouth. And that gives a neurological reset to our body. And being able to do that intentional breath. And I do that, start every morning like that, looking out at the horizon, every night, looking up at the stars. And I can physically and emotionally tell a difference in my day when I have not done that, if I've rushed it.
I think we did that at a different workshop where we all took a deep breath in and you made everybody, but it was great because it was kind of a reset. And, it was taking the deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. It's a neurological reset. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, it does. It's a neurological reset that it does. And it's one of the core, it's a foundational step in every trauma-based strategy.
Really?
To be able to offset panic attacks, anxiety, to be able to regulate from dysregulation when we feel outside of ourselves. Doing the deep intentional breath is the most powerful. And you hear lots of varieties of doing deep breathing out there, but that trauma-based response, whenever you breathe in your nose and then slow motion exhale, is the one that brings that reset. And it helps give your body time for your circulatory and respiratory systems to reset with that balance.
Okay. So that's a takeaway.
That's a huge takeaway. If there is one thing you take away from all the things I say, that's the takeaway.
All right. Yeah. Can you tell us one thing that some people might not know about you?
And so I feel like I have a lot of secrets. No, I'm just kidding. I think one thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that I do have a lot of life experience. And so I've been in a wide variety of professional environments as well as a wide variety of cultural environments. And so I bring to the table a broad understanding of various cultures and religious beliefs. And at the end of the day, I think what all of these experience, that's why you get the relatable me, is because I think I come from a place of experiences that allow me to have true understanding.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate that. I will link the event for February 13th in the summary below. I believe you've got several other events coming up this year. So if they want to follow you, you'll do those announcements on social media. That's the best place.
Yep.
Okay,
The
great.
best place to find out.
And your Instagram handle is at Upwelling Therapy, I believe.
Upwelling Therapeutic.
Okay, that sounds good. And thank you for coming. I really appreciate
Thank you for having me. It means a lot. Glad to be connected with all of you. So definitely comment, reach out so that I know how far and wide that this message went.
Absolutely. Thank you. Until next time. See you later. Stay fully stoked.